Thank you, Madam President. Over the past year, Israel has made many promises to the 101 hostages still held by Hamas terrorists, as well as their families and loved ones. We swore that we will do all that we can to bring you home. To the terrorists who orchestrated and participated in the mass murder, rape, and kidnapping of Israelis, we pledge that justice would find them, no matter how long it took, how far they ran, how hidden their bunkers. To the civilians in our north who face unrelenting terror from Hezbollah at their borders, we vowed they would once again live safely and securely in their homes. They have our word that Israel will never rest until peace is restored, until every last terrorist is driven back from our borders. And finally, we addressed Iran directly in response to their brutal, calculated missile attacks on our civilian population. Almost 200 ballistic missiles aimed at cities, homes, and sacred places. We promised that their actions would not go unanswered. We assured them that we would choose the time and manner of our response, and that it would be painful. Those promises are being kept. Today, those who have sown terror and hate, Yahya Sinwar, Mohammed Def, Hassan Nasrallah, find themselves reunited in the darkest pits of hell. Their alliance in life was a pact of terror, and in death, they face the consequences of their cruelty. Israel's enemies now understand that our promises are not empty. But let there be no misunderstanding. Our message goes beyond individuals, beyond the pawns. It is directed squarely at the Iranian regime, the puppet master behind these heinous acts. Iran's leaders chose to assault Israel, to destabilize the region and unleash chaos. They promised us destruction. We have answered with strength. No sovereign country would tolerate hundreds of ballistic missiles aimed at its civilian population. No responsible government would allow its people to remain under constant threat. On Friday night, Israel acted as any nation would to defend its citizens, secure its borders, and neutralize an immediate threat. The Israel Defense Forces executed precise, targeted strikes on Iranian military assets deep within Iran's territory. We struck missile manufacturing facilities responsible for creating the very weapons that were launched against our civilians. Every aspect of this mission was crafted to remove the immediate threat, while minimizing any harm to civilians. The contrast of the manner in which we executed our operation with Iran's missile attack could not be starker. While Iran recklessly aimed their missiles at entire civilian communities, cities, Tel Aviv, Haifa, Israel utilized the most precise munitions in the world to focus solely on military targets. Israel remains resolute. We will continue to act in defense of our people with precision, strength, and an unbreakable commitment to the safety of our citizens. For years, Iran has deliberately escalated its efforts to destabilize the Middle East, arming and directing their terror proxies, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to Hamas in Gaza, from the Houthis in Yemen to the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria. Iran has seeded violence, chaos, and destruction throughout the Middle East. But this violence is not limited to Israel's border. It threatens regional stability, global security, and economic stability. For years, Iran has openly violated numerous Security Council resolutions, chief among them Resolutions 2231, 1701, and 2216. Iran's ambitions reach far beyond Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. We all know, they seek dominance across the region and beyond, using terror as their primary tool to intimidate, destabilize, and assert influence. The weapons they fund and distribute, the terrorists they arm and train, and the chaos they deliberately ignite do not respect borders or politics. Today, it is us, it is Israel in their crosshairs. But tomorrow, it could be any of the nations represented here. Don't be mistaken. Many of my Muslim colleagues know it very well, that today they are targeting our capital. Tomorrow, it can be your capital. Every country within range of their proxies is at risk, and their terror network is global. Two massive missile attacks, first in April, then again in October, each unleashed hundreds of ballistic missiles aimed directly at Israeli civilians. And yet, in the face of the Iranian regime's flagrant act of aggression, this council has failed to find its moral voice. The usual course calling for de-escalation is not only weak, but profoundly misguided. Iran's regime has been emboldened by each muted response, each call for restraint, each failure to impose real consequences on the Ayatollah. This hypocrisy is not lost on Israel, nor on the people we protect. For months, we have warned this body of the threat Iran poses, not just to Israel, but to the broader international community. We have provided evidence, pleaded for decisive action, and faced a wall of silence. Does this council not see the gravity of Iran's ambitions? We heard the words diplomacy, negotiations. Can't you see what they really want? How can you equate Israel's defensive measures with Iran's unprovoked assaults on our people? This is not just morally bankrupt. It is a grotesque distortion of reality. The failure to hold Iran accountable is an endorsement of their tactics. This council's silence in the face of Iran's aggression sends a message to Tehran that its actions will go unchecked, that it may continue down this path without consequence. Israel does not seek war. Our mission, our commitment is peace. But peace cannot be achieved under the shadow of missiles and the threat of eradication. Our response was measured and proportionate. We took every precaution to focus our operations on military targets, ensuring minimal collateral impact. Israel's commitment to restraint stands in stark contrast to the wholesale violence of Iran's attacks. Our actions reflect our responsibility not only to our citizens, but to the entire region. Every missile we destroy, every weapons store we dismantle, every terrorist we eliminate is a step towards the stability that every nation represented in this hall claims to desire. To Iran's leaders, take this as a warning. Israel has shown restraint, but from here on, you will see only strength. Any further aggression will be met with consequences that are swift and decisive. For every missile you launch, for every terror cell you sponsor, there will be reckoning. Cease your reckless pursuit of dominance through violence and terror. Israel has acted to protect its people and its sovereignty, and we will not hesitate to do so again. And to the members of this council, we call on you to act. Enough empty words, enough statements of concern. The Iranian regime must face real consequences for its actions. We demand immediate and crippling sanctions targeting Iran's military and economic infrastructure. Designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization it is. Isolate Iran diplomatically, but most importantly, take the necessary measures to prevent a lunatic regime from attaining nuclear capabilities. Imagine who will sit here in a few years if, God forbid, they will have nuclear capabilities. The world cannot afford to ignore the threat Iran poses. This is no longer a matter of words, it is a matter of action. Israel's promises are more than words. They are our unbreakable covenant with those we protect and a warning to those who seek our harm. We have acted on these promises, and we will continue to do so. To our enemies and to our friends alike, understand this. When Israel vows to defend its people, those promises will be kept, no matter the cost. Thank you, Madam President.